Well, that was a stiff roundhouse kick to the loins. When we're going to recap the Jets' loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football and some very alarming comments from Aaron Rodgers about the same old problems that plagued the Jets a little bit earlier this season. Let's roll.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Evie.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. We were just live 5 hours ago for the post-game show, and now we're live once again for our, what's somewhat somber for a lot of reasons with the game last night, but also our final Hop on Pop takeover episode here in Atlanta for Boy Green Daily. So, Father, it was an awesome weekend. Unfortunately, despite what happened just a handful of hours ago with the Jet Steelers game in Week 7, but besides that, it was a doozy of a weekend, and now we get to do one more show together.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Another put in the books for a great weekend, and then yes. Unfortunately, last night, in the words of Dennis Green, is what it was.
Well, that is for certain. And I thought the game was bad enough. The Jets get again. I talked about it on the post game show a couple hours ago, but to reiterate it, just in case anyone who didn't see that, and I would imagine a few of you were probably already asleep, and that was probably a good decision. But you can always rewatch a show if you seek to do it. The Jets were up 15-6. They had a 2-score lead with the ball with under 2 minutes to go. They could have run out the clock. The Steelers weren't using timeouts and taken that into halftime with the ball coming back to them in the second half. The Jets got aggressive. They got risky. They got greedy, as one word a commenter continued to use after the game and about that situation, and ultimately it cost them. Steelers score a touchdown. You go to that Garrett Wilson deflected pass off his chest. It was the second drive of the second half, and Garrett Wilson, by the way, for credit, he took all the blame, saying he's the reason they lost the game, which you love hearing your leaders saying they did. But the most alarming thing to me, and what is the theme of this very video here, is Aaron Rodgers' comments after the game, and this was the first time that he mentioned it in this presser, and he came back to it a little bit later. But apparently the team was lacking energy, which is one of the reasons Robert Saleh was fired. It didn't seem like he had the pulse of the team and had them in a motivating fashion. And well, let's just play the clip from Aaron Rodgers.
What do you felt the momentum switch there with that pick there? How difficult is it to get that back?
It shouldn't be that difficult. I just felt like the energy, and it starts with me, the energy, for whatever reason, at halftime was a little flat. I felt like it was flat before the game, too. Sunday Night Football. So I got to look at myself and what I can do to bring better energy, but we all got to do better.
Lacking energy? Sunday Night Football? You just acquired Devontae Adams a couple days ago? You just brought back Hassan Reddick? Your season was on the line at 2-4. Now, I still think there's a path, as I got to eventually after an hour of talking a couple of hours ago in the postgame show, that the night is darkest before the dawn. But, I am a guy, as a Jets fan, I realize this, I'm a rationalizer. If something happens, I find a way to rationalize it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and that's where I'm at. So while I still think there's a path today, there's no excuse before the game, Aaron Rodgers admitting, and I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is wrong for admitting it. That the problem is that it existed, that it apparently there was a lack of energy for this Jets team. There was a million reasons to be motivated, and the fact that the fans, a lot of the fans I talked to, excited about this opportunity in Sunday Night Football, were more excited than the team is incredibly alarming. And if they weren't motivated for this, what are they going to be motivated for in a primetime game with, like I said, in a lot of reasons? Now you drop to 2-5, your playoff lives and real football lives are on the line in 2024. That was incredibly disconcerting.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but
Okay.
I would say this: it's time for Rodgers. I don't know how to say this.
Okay.
To shut the fuck up, right? And here's what I mean. You know what we espouse all the time, at least one of us, right? 4-time MVP, future Hall of Fame. You know what they do? You know what leaders do? The energy's down in the locker room. He rallies them together. He gets them together before the game. He's like, hey, man, what's going on? He's a leader. You know what you don't do is you say nothing until after the game and you make excuses, right? A 4-time NFL MVP, right, notices something's going on, takes action for it, doesn't let it happen like he's a victim in a car accident.
Well, he said after the game.
After the game, he said. Well, what did he say before the game?
That's what
did he do in the locker room?
That's what he said after. We didn't talk to him before the game. I'm saying after the game, he said that when he noticed the energy was down, he tried to infuse energy into different conversations to see if he could spark it. And if the team is just not energized, if there's 52 guys, he said he was energized with Sunday Night freaking Football. This was, Acrisure Stadium and all these other things. But he said that it wasn't happening with the rest of the team. And he was taking ownership, saying, well, it starts with me, that there apparently wasn't the energy operating. He's just saying it because that's a politically correct thing to say, to look inward first. But the fact that the rest of the team didn't, to me, is incredibly alarming. Why wasn't the rest of the team? I don't blame Rodgers he's not a cheerleader. That's not his job.
He's a leader.
He is, and apparently he attempted to try to rally the troops, but it's not just on him to rally the troops. The troops need to be wanting to be rallied. To me, I don't know why that the energy was lacking. How could it be lacking with all of the things that I said? I don't want to get repetitive here. I just don't understand how this team themselves, the players, looking in the mirror for this opportunity warrant. To me, it's not blaming Aaron Rodgers. I'm glad Aaron Rodgers pointed it out, but I just wish all the players would have realized that the moment is the moment here.
Yeah, and again, he said, well, I was energized. These other guys, I don't know about them. Right? That's a real solid leader. Real solid. These other guys, good thing I'm here. Right? You're absolutely correct, though. The Jets literally got everything. It was Christmas, and everything on the list was in front of them. Every single thing. We got Devontae Adams. That'll make it better. Right? Hassan Reddick's coming back. That'll make it better. And then if your energy wasn't high now, then I don't know what it is ever going to be.
And that's unfortunately my point here, is that I just don't understand how that is a reality here for this New York Jets team. Now, again, there was the penalties weren't a problem this time. They had 5 penalties for 50 yards. So the penalties were not an issue this time. But Aaron Rodgers has continued to say after all of these games that it is the little things. But the thing that's bothering me is that addressing the problem is only half the battle. Solving the problem is another half of the battle, and we haven't seen that yet from this Jets team. It's all of these, like I said, mistakes of the Garrett Wilson deflection. Aaron Rodgers, as he called it after the game, quote unquote, my shitty pick. He got greedy at the end of the first half. And the Steelers kid made a great play, so you have to give a tip of the cap for that. But Aaron Rodgers shouldn't have thrown the pass that was at any world a dangerous situation, which could completely flip the momentum. And obviously, that's what happened in the game. So Will McDonald, he is a pass rushing fiend. He gets his 8th sack on the season, which looks awesome, but no one else got a sack on Russell Wilson. Rusty Russell Wilson was out there, for goodness sake. And at the beginning of the game, you saw a lot of those struggles. And eventually he got into it. And he was able to use the deep ball concepts, which made him famous with the Seattle Seahawks. And he escaped pressure just when we thought, we talked about it live in the room, but Russell Wilson does a naked play action boot, and he turns around and, oh shit, Solomon Thomas, Jets defensive lineman's right my grill. And not only did he get rid of the ball and turn what would have been a negative play of a sack and it's a boot, so he was even deeper in the backfield. So that had to have been a 4 or 5 yard loss. He turns into this massive 25-yard gain to his tight end who breaks a million tackles. So some of those fundamental things of Solomon Thomas just not hesitating, and then he sacks Russell Wilson and finishing him off and being able to sack the guy, especially for a Russell Wilson guy that hadn't played a game in 10 months. It's hard for me to believe that this Jets team couldn't get him on the ground. He's not Lamar Jackson. Russell Wilson is mobile, but he's not Lamar Jackson mobile. He's 35 years of age. The Jets didn't get him down enough, which would have stopped some of these plays.
Yeah, and it really goes to the point that at the halftime, when Russell Wilson was playing the first 2 quarters, when he was so rusty, before he clearly snapped out of it, the real story here, the underlying thing is not all this other stuff. It's that the Jets were only up, right, whatever the score was. I call it 13-6 because they were gifted 2 points by the referee for a phantom leveraging thing that was not leveraging, as clear as day. It was not leveraging. So they got gifted those 2 points, and that that offense was incapable of putting points on the board. They should have been further ahead. It shouldn't have been 15-6, ended up being 15-13 at halftime. It should have been, maybe it's 28, whatever it looks like. And that's disconcerting.
And so I talked about that Garrett Wilson had a pass to doink off his chest. And you're like, geez, that's unfortunate. It's not only about not making bad plays. That's kind of an important piece of the puzzle. The Steelers guys were like, well, this is Russell Wilson's first game. Let's make some plays. George Pickens had so many bobbling, unbelievable catches where you thought there was halfway decent defense of Isaiah Oliver breaking up the ball, floats up in the air. George Pickens catches it. Pat Freiermuth catching one-handed crazy-ass catches. So the Steelers were like playing on some all-Madden mode, doing all kinds of crazy, spectacular catches, but the Jets couldn't do the most basic catch. Sometimes your best players got to make a play, and those players were certainly making plays for Russell Wilson. If he didn't put the ball in the exact scenario, the exact right place, some of those guys made great plays, which is what you're supposed to do for the team. And for the Jets, not only were they not making those plays consistently outside of Breece Hall, who broke a million tackles from a receiving perspective. He had the best game of any running back from a receiving perspective so far this season. He did that in the first half, those numbers from that perspective. But, man, that to me is the frustrating part. You have all this talent on offense. You got this Ferrari, and you look under the engine, and you look under the hood, and there's no engine. This group has to play like a team, and eventually you're going to get there. But the problem with eventually is you're 2-5. Your margin for error is incredibly low. Is it possible that the Jets could still do all these wonderful things? Of course, but it's now going to require this ridiculous run to be able to do so. With a 5-loss already being the result, the most you could do right now is 12 wins. If you won every single game the rest of the season, which seems incredibly unlikely, there's going to be some more bumps in the road, more likely than not, which means all of a sudden, if you lose one game, you're at 11 wins max. We talk about max potential all the time in like the NBA. So max this. So you're at 11. If you lose 2, you're at 10. Now you just see the margin for error just continues to go in a different direction entirely.
Yeah, and I would say that, there's a difference. We don't know the energy in the locker room. We don't know those things. But what we do know is the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing out of their minds, making those Ks. That one Pickens had, like, he caught the ball 4 times. It was incredible. And, the Jets just weren't getting it done. And for Russell Wilson to come in and knock the rust off in a couple quarters, it's Aaron Rodgers really still hasn't knocked the rust off from his layovers.
Yeah, again, there was opportunities for Aaron Rodgers for the second straight game to make sure that he had an opportunity to get 300 yards, and he was unable to do so. So I can't highlight it on the screen, so sorry, MFC, but we have a new member to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Let's welcome Dominic Lazuzzo, who is a member of the Boy Green Coffee Club. Thank you, MFC, for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for the membership ad. So apologies for some of the technical difficulties of not being able to highlight that on the screen, but we see it. Thank you very much. And I see we have a YouTube super chat in, and every time we get a YouTube super chat, we're from my daughter, Zariah Luna.
Wow.
Again, sorry, DFF1234 for not being able to highlight this on the screen, but I appreciate it. Is GM gone? And that would be, of course, in reference to Joe Douglas. To me, despite what he said, and he called this the most talented team he's had in his operation, which is dating 25 years. This is his 25th year of ownership. He mentioned that this is the most talented team that he's had, which obviously is a tip of the cap, a vote of confidence in theory to Joe Douglas. He's the one who's constructed this team. So I think it was both a vote of confidence, but also pressure. Like, you better maximize this team that is here. So I'm going to be frank with you, DFF1234, that if the Jets don't make the playoffs and this thing implodes and does not go in the direction, I don't know, 7-10 again or something, Joe Douglas, it's going to be very hard to envision him surviving and thus picking a new coach. And then where is the direction of the team? Do all these guys that are kind of hanging in the balance come back? Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Hassan Reddick. Do those guys all jump on the train and say, let's run it back one more time? Does that implode and then you're going a young quarterback route? Depending on which perspective, does Joe Douglas stay in one scenario and not another scenario potentially? That's another thing to potentially evaluate. Would you allow Joe Douglas to pick another quarterback after what he did with Zach Wilson? And on the other side, if you're running it all back with those guys, is it Jeff Ulbrich? Do you hire some other new head coach where there's going to be some learning because the offensive system, I doubt, would be the same? I doubt Todd Downing survives if Ben Johnson, let's just say, comes in as the guy. So to me, I think Joe Douglas is very firmly on the hot seat, Pop.
Yeah, no, he absolutely is. And, it is, Aaron Rodgers is like the rich parents' favorite child. He always gets what he wants. He gets Devontae Adams. They spend the money to bring in Hassan Reddick. But what they didn't do is address some challenges they have on the interior of the offensive line or the interior of the defensive line. They can't stop the run and they can't run. Without those two things, we can have 6 Hassan Reddicks and 12 Devontae Adams. And in the end, we will lose games.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we didn't really talk much about this, but the injuries are absolutely brutal for the New York Jets. So ABT goes out during the game. He's out for an ankle. Jeff Ulbrich was asked after the game, is that an Achilles? He said, all I heard was it was an ankle. So we have no idea on that front. But, ABT walked off with apparent no limp from what I saw on the television broadcast. So hopefully that's good news. Obviously, Xavier Newman, who stepped in for him, very scary situation. He had to be carted off the field. That happened after the Garrett Wilson deflected pass interception, and Patrick Queen freaking rocked Xavier Newman's world, and he fell backward onto the ground, had to be stretchered off. They had to use a special spine board to send him to the hospital. The good news is he has feeling in his extremities, if you guys hadn't heard that yet. So it's terrific news for Xavier Newman. That was incredibly disconcerting. That was scary and all the rest. He ended up traveling with the team back. So that's incredibly good news from that perspective. But the other injuries, real quick, we obviously came into the game with no DJ Reed. We had no Michael Carter II. We had no Chuck Clark, who is our starting safety. Who was placed on IR. But in the middle of the game, you lose Ashton Davis to a concussion. There's another safety down. You lose Tony Adams to a hamstring. That's another safety down. You lost Sauce Gardner during the game, but he ultimately came back. You're playing with Brandon Eccles. You're playing with Isaiah Oliver, Quantez Stiggers. I don't know if he ended up getting any reps in there as well. Just a shout out to Jalen Mills, who for the most part I thought showed a lot of energy. Speaking of lack of energy, he was a guy that showed a lot of energy, and the Green Goblin was making some plays. You love to see it, but boy, this group is incredibly battered, beaten, and we'll have to see to your interior offensive line point. Is ABT going to be fine? Do they have to go to their third guy, which, by the way, was Jake Hansen last night? That's hardly ideal from that perspective. The only other healthy, active offensive lineman they had yesterday was Olu Fashanu, and obviously he's never played guard in his life, so he did not step up on the field. I will tell you real quick to your defensive line point, Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter named some potential trade candidates. Obviously, we have the trade deadline here in a handful of weeks. One name that was floated out there that is not being an active member of his team because the team is making him inactive. It's not like his choice. It's just every game day, you got to make a number of guys inactive. One guy that's being inactive is Quentin Jefferson, who was with the Jets last year. He had 6 sacks and was doing very well. It seems like he's not really fitting there in Cleveland. That could be an area to go if the Jets continue to push their chips all in, which you might as well with everything that you have here. He could be a name to keep an eye out for as a guy that you could bring in to add to that interior defensive line, especially since you have Hassan Reddick on the outside.
Yeah, I think the offensive line before the injuries last night was still not playing very well to support the run. I would say really, is there some insights of things we don't know with Aaron Rodgers? He didn't throw the ball down the field yesterday. His longest pass was 19 yards. And so is there something there that we're unaware of that he is physically limited because he didn't air it out and not 3 times, not 4 times, not once. The longest pass down the field was 19 yards. And they talked about it at the game coverage, right? The most of the yards from Breece Hall and everybody else
was Yak.
Was Yak, and as opposed to Russell Wilson, which was through the air. We have a few.
Yes, we're going to catch up on that. I do want to just say, to your point, it's not just the Pittsburgh game. We haven't seen deep shots this entire season, whether it's Nathaniel Hackett calling plays or Todd Downing. And it's an interesting question that we can't answer because we don't know the information. Are they doing it because Aaron Rodgers? Are they not doing it, because Aaron Rodgers is incapable? Or they're just not doing it for some made-up reason because they seem to have the talent to be able to do so? That's an interesting comment. All right, let's start going through, and eventually, normally like halfway through these shows, it allows me to highlight your comments. So hopefully that fixes here. Coming up here. So I apologize for, again, the technical difficulties that appear to be happening here. Let's go to another YouTube super chat. We've got EZ coming up here on the show, which we appreciate.
Wow.
EZ, or Edward Ziff, our resident offensive coordinator, thank you for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate it. His comment is, underachieving players equals bad coaching. That's absolutely true. You have to maximize the group, and so far, the Jets obviously have not done that. We're getting into infamous Vince Young. We got a dream team over here at the Eagles, and that's not the kind of category or turf that you want to be balancing in. It's about a group, a collection of guys that you've Washington did it, Dad. You'll probably remember this in the early 2000s. That Washington team in the NFC East, they tried to buy a Super Bowl and buy all these guys. And when you do that, that doesn't always work out. So the Jets have a ton of talent. We talked about it before, heading into the season. The Athletic, NFL.com, ESPN, all these places said the Jets have at worst a top 10 roster, if not a top 5 roster in football. Well, it's time to see it. When you balance expectations and results, this has to be one of the most deflating, disappointing Jet seasons of all time because we thought they were going to be this. And so far, they've been this. And that, to me, has been incredibly deflating. There's been plenty of 2-5 seasons. Jet fans, I'm preaching here to you guys. But those 2-5 seasons sometimes are like, yeah, we kind of saw that coming. This was happening. This was happening. For this team, this outfit, this group to be 2-5 is just absolutely, bonkers. And it is 100% easy. Your point, underachieving players equals bad coaching more times than not. Let's go to FL Phil 98, who's got a member shout out for being a member for 3 months. Thank you, FL Phil 98, for that. We appreciate it, which again, that also counts as a super chat.
Wow.
This was a gut check game. This team has no heart in all capital letters. And that's the thing that's infuriating because heart is something you either have or you don't have. It's not like, man, if we had one more wide receiver, we'd be great. Everything else is good. We have this and this and this. It's not that. Heart is something you can control. Energy is something you can control. Hustle and flying to the ball and doing some of these things any football team can do if they have good coaching. That, to me, is the deflating part and why there is like a void inside me, and I think in all Jet fans today, FL Phil, is that it was a gut check game. being a gut check game and Sunday Night Football and all the things we've already mentioned, the team didn't have a fight. They didn't have a fire. Like at the very least, what about, and we haven't even brought this up yet, Jeff Ulbrich. This is an interim head coach. This may be the only opportunity of his entire career to ever be a head coach. And again, if he does well, he could have another opportunity, whether it's with a different team or the Jets permanently. I heard that before the game in some of the reports that Jeff Ulbrich has a legitimate shot on paper to, if he does very well, he can keep this job. At this current moment, he's got no chance of keeping the job. And why would he? The players, you would think, another motivating factor is let's do this for Ulbrich. On top of doing it for yourself and the expectations of playoffs and Super Bowls and things of all that crazy nature, is that you think that you'd be fighting for Ulbrich. The fact that they're not is incredibly deflating. Any comments here as we continue on?
Yeah, not on that. You said something that really, you talked about play calling and, it maybe not be physical limitations, maybe play calling, you're not throwing the ball down the field.
The deep ball shots. We have not seen deep ball shots from this offense all season long. But again, the ethos question is that because they're like, oh, Aaron Rodgers can't do it anymore? Or is it they're just befuddling, which could certainly be the case. We've seen that from offensive play calling for a long time, unfortunately, here with the New York Jets.
Yeah, and I, we have talked about it since the acquisition of Aaron Rodgers, that he has the full scope and ability to go to the offensive line every snap and call whatever play he wants. And so if he's not throwing the ball down the field, there's got to be a reason that he's not throwing the ball down the field. I just got one thing for you.
Pass protection?
I got one thing for you. Daniel Jones, what do you think about him? Good, bad, kind of crappy.
Daniel Jones
kind of
sucks.
He sucked. I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, what do you think about him?
Oh, he's terrible.
He's terrible. If you
add
add both their interceptions up, Aaron Rodgers still has more than both of them combined for 2024.
Okay, how many interceptions?
So the reality is we have to face reality. That's the whole point of this. Before yesterday, you said the season is over if we don't win against the Steelers. That's a quote. We can run the tape back.
I'm not sure if I said that exactly.
You exactly said that.
Yeah.
And we just have to face who this team is, right? We get a bunch of shiny cars in the garage that we never drive, except in the Rain Man reference and on the driveway on Sunday. We need to go back to the basics. It's okay if we don't throw the ball down the field. We got to pound the rock. They did have some good play calling with Brees, getting him out in space like we talked about over and over again. But the inability, his rushing yards, he had a lot of passing yards, and it doesn't, I've said time and time again, he's more of a multi-purpose back than a running back. I mean, just a pounding, straightforward running back, right? He had like 40 yards rushing. He's getting nothing per carry, right? But they get him out in space. He had over 100 yards receiving, which is phenomenal. So they're using him correctly, but you still need that running game to open up the passing game, to have the ball down the field. And there seems to be a lack of commitment to that. And that's definitely one of the things that need to be addressed going forward.
Yeah, one thing for sure that we haven't addressed, that could be a clear and obvious reason why they're not taking those deep shots, as we mentioned, pass protection. Tyron Smith was getting beat with a rusty wrench, and it hurts me to say because I pounded the table for this guy. And here's the thing, and I don't blame the Steelers, did the right thing. TJ Watt was basically on Morgan Moses the entire game, and I don't blame them for putting him in that position. The Jets did, by all accounts, a wonderful job on TJ Watt. They threw the kitchen sink at him. Really, the only play that I remember that anything happened was where TJ Watt got past the protection. It was supposed to be a quick screen, and TJ Watt deflected it in Aaron Rodgers' face. That's really the only play I remember from the TJ Watt experience. So from that perspective, the Jets did a wonderful job, which means the Steelers pass rusher number 2, and by the way, he's very good, was on one-on-one with Tyron Smith more times than not, and Tyron couldn't hold his own. He allowed the pocket to collapse to get to Aaron. So, of course, Aaron can potentially take deep shots. That could be another reason, again, that we're not properly highlighting here. Another YouTube super chat. Thank you to our number 1 Austrian Jets fan here, baby.
Wow.
A little positive nugget. Aaron Rodgers came back after injury with 6-9 season in 2018, but went 13-3 in 2019. The new offensive head tells me this. Again, it depends on how the season goes, I suppose. It's hard to just assume otherwise. Is that I think Aaron Rodgers does not. Obviously, we heard about it with the injury initially with the Achilles. He's like, I'm not going out like this. And then potentially for this season to be going in the current direction it is, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is like, well, I'm going to go out this way. I think there are other things to potentially deal with here from that perspective. As we're waiting for this weird clock music behind us, we'll play a quick Hep song.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking just football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. Jets, Jets. Boy.
Okay, here we are. We're back here, everybody. And again, going back to that comment real quick. Sorry, my father has a fancy clock here that does special things when we get the turn of the hour, which could be distracting with our audio settings here. So apologies. But back, I just want to make sure I highlight it again from the Austrian Jets fan sending in a super chat. Thank you so much. Our number one Austrian Jets fan, that is. Again, he shared a little positive nugget that Aaron Rodgers came back after injury with a 6-9 season in 2018, went 13-3 in 2019 with a new offensive head coach in LaFleur. And again, my gut tells me Aaron Rodgers is coming back if this season is what it is. And plus, he just said in general that he wanted to be back more than a season, not including, obviously, what transpired last year. So I think the band's going to try to run it back. Devontae said when he came over here, I don't go to places so I could go to a new place. That's not my mentality. Aaron Rodgers revealed that Devontae Adams just had a child a couple of months ago, and they just moved cross country now, living over here in the New Jersey area. And you have all the, and we'll see on Hassan Reddick. We haven't even spoken to the guy, but he's supposed to be reporting here in the next couple of hours. We'll have coverage on that on Heavy on Jets. But, you know, they're bringing the band here together. I think they're going to try to make as many runs with this as possible, as opposed to potentially blowing this up. So great. We need some positivity. Our number one Austrian Jets fan, based on everything that we've seen so far from that perspective. Why don't we do this? We're going to only be on for another 15 minutes or so with what we have going on here. So I'll try to open up the phone lines. We'll try to take as many callers as we can here on the program. So if you'd like to call in, you guys can do so right here in just a minute. Here we go. A call into the show here. And let me put this on here, and then we got to hop off because both me and my father have some work to do, but I want to get to a lot of your phone calls. Your phone calls are important. That message is now pinned on the comment on YouTube section. It is pinned in the comment section on YouTube. If you'd like to call into the show, that is youtube.com/boygreen25. If you have any comments or venting, or quite frankly, anything you'd like to get off your chest, and we'll get that going. And now the technology has returned, so any more super chats or memberships we can now highlight on the screen. Every once in a while it does something weird, but here we go. All right. Yes.
Yeah, just before we go, I just want to let everyone know that Jared B., his debt has been paid. I paid him the $1 for factual. He purchased a half a bag of popcorn from the Falcons game. So I will be hand delivering that to him at the Jets game that we attend in 2025. Don't worry, I've got the bag of popcorn. I'll keep it safe, and it'll be ready for you. I always pay my debts.
Okay, he is a Lannister, I guess. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We've got Hep joining us here on the show. What's up, Hep?
Hey guys. You know, I was curious. We were really moving the ball with Breece Hall, getting him in open space. Your dad even addressed that the other day, and we kind of went away from it for some reason. Mm-hmm. And the defense, I don't know what the hell those who showed up at that game. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. I don't know what to say unless this is like Gandalf just fell into the pit and we're at our lowest right now, and we're just waiting to come back. You know, I have no idea. Yeah. You know, either when I was. Anyway, when someone was running for office, I said, look, either the guy's a liar, or he's dumb as crap, or he's the unluckiest person in the world. And either one of those three, we can't afford. You know what I mean? We can't afford the unluckiest owner in the world, or the dumbest, or a liar. You know, we can't afford those. I don't know what the story is. You know, I've been doing this since 1968. You know, so I've been living with this curse, I guess. Curse, whatever it is, this kind of play for a long time. And you always every fall comes around, you get inspired again to yeah, we can do it. If only this and this happens. But anyway, you got other callers. I'm sorry for ranting. I'll tell
No,
you, I'm still in shock.
I am too, Hap. I appreciate the call.
Rocking the Lord of Rings, is Woody Johnson, is he Smeagol with the ring that rules all? I don't know, but
Could be. I'm not sure, but either way, it is frustrating. It is all of those things because this year was supposed to be different for all those reasons. And again, I still believe there's a path. Again, the night is darkest before the dawn. They can rally, they can turn this around, but it's hard to have some of those conversations right now on the show based on everything going on. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Just real quick.
Okay.
There's a crack in your half full glass.
Okay.
As you already started talking about next season running it back. I just wanted to throw.
That was a question we got.
I didn't want to let it by.
What do you mean?
You're
Let it go
already-
by? I'm a man of the people. That question came in from Austrian Jets fans.
But you had a lot of depth behind it. It wasn't like it was a rare question for you.
Yeah, so let me just make this clear. When super chats come in, it means the world to me that people would dig into their pockets to highlight a comment to bring it on here on the show. Which, by the way, if I can, let me see if I can reach some of those, so I can give some of those some proper love. It does, YouTube, unfortunately, with all the comments, we have 800 people in the room. I can't go back to highlight those. So again, any other comments or memberships that come in, we can't highlight on the screen now. It's when we're down here in Atlanta, sometimes we have issues with that. But either way, I answer all the questions wholeheartedly. I'm not giving some half-assed political answer. Well, that could be an interesting question. I'll see if I can get back to you on that. I answer it wholeheartedly. Again, for me, the season is not over. There is still time to turn this around. The next game up is against New England. They suck. They're perhaps the only team that sucks worse than you do. So you just sweep the Patriots for the first time in like 20-something years. We'll have that data specifically here in a couple of days. But come on, man, you can do this, and then all of a sudden you're 3-5, and now you got a really tough ass game. At least you're hosting it. They say that the lean for advantage is to the home team on those Thursday night football games. We'll see if that is indeed the case. Let's go to the phone lines. Johnny Boy joins us.
So, guys, the convo needs to be had, bro, with A-Rod. He's not planting his leg, man. I saw it a lot more last night in this game. There's something going on that he's not telling us. And, bro, the team looks bad, man. I'm sorry. I tried, man, in regards to this. Look, we're gonna even have trouble with the Patriots coming up, bro. I can't sit here and say, oh, we should be beating the living bricks off of them or anything like that at all. It could come down to a close game against them. I know you got other callers and all that, but I'm just calling in as a deflated Jet fan right now because that was horrible last night. You saw Coach Tomlin, a coach out-coached the hell out of us. He was smiling, grinning on the sideline at us. Appreciate you guys. Keep doing your stuff.
Hey, Johnny, I'm waiting for you to show up on the show to call in rocking the bacon gear. I haven't seen it yet. Is that the shirt you're wearing? No.
It's
okay. We're waiting.
Every shirt I have has either baby throw up or baby throw up.
You don't want baby throw up on the bacon shirt.
No. Definitely not. But appreciate it, Johnny. Thank you very much. New England, by the way, because why would people be paying attention to New England land? The Patriots are on their biggest losing streak since the year I was born, 1993. They're on a 6-game losing streak right now. And the Jets have a chance to put them to a 7-game losing streak, which would be absolutely terrific. Remember, they won the Week 1 game somehow in Cincinnati, and since it's been all downhill for New England. So even them saying that we have, whatever opportunity that they will put together, I don't know. I don't believe New England's going to give the Jets trouble. But to be honest, we can't overlook anyone right now because we're in our funk. The last time the Jets looked competent, I was at that game. That was like a month ago, man. That was the Jet, and you were too, Pop, and Johnny Boy, and a lot of our callers and listeners. It was a Jets-Patriots game where they blew the barn doors off the Patriots. So maybe that could be some sort of a weird ritual of going back to that game in Foxborough in this particular occasion, and rekindling some of those flames that existed that seemed like it was going to spark a run as opposed to being a flame out, which is unfortunately what occurred. All right, let's go to EZ here on the show. What's up, EZ?
Wow.
Yeah, very much so. A lot of wow. Yeah.
Listen, I had mentioned this a long time ago. I thought they should have made Ron Middleton the head coach interim. He just seems to have that fire that Ulbrich does not have on the sideline. Ulbrich is too busy to be an interim coach with his other duties. It's just not working. If you looked at Mike Tomlin, you could see the anger and flames in his eyes when the Jets were up 15-6. He was pissed. And you could see that the players were kind of afraid to be around him. But just Ulbrich just had this deer in the headlights look. I just never seen anything like it.
Well, I have Robert Saleh is where I had seen some things like it, but no, to your point, a lot of people, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck brought it up initially because I'm sure they had it in the back of their mind. Oh, Ulbrich's going to keep calling the plays and be the head coach for the first time ever. Oh boy, that could lead to some problems in certain situations, and they highlighted that on the broadcast a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they're just underachieving. They are not it's like they have all these superstars and great players, but they're not playing as a team. And like I mentioned the other day, their fundamentals are still off. They're not fundamentally sound. They're not doing their gap assignments. They're not doing their blocking assignments. And I don't know how Keith Carter turned Tyron Smith into garbage. But that guy needs to be fired immediately. Just immediately. Anybody else could coach him better. Anybody else. I don't care. Ron Middleton, if you're not going to promote him to interim head coach, he's the tight ends coach. Let him coach the offensive line. Anything. But this Carter guy, nobody believes in him. Nobody likes him. And you can't play. If you don't like your boss, you're not going to put out for him. It's just the bottom line.
Yeah, and the strange thing about that is, so he performed really badly, Keith Carter, previously, and then we're like, well, there's a bunch of veterans on there now, so they can kind of coach themselves. Is kind of how we sold it in the offseason, which is
too many shitty retreads on this team.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, they're just not getting it done. So we'll see if there's any more changes to the staff.
And I'm sorry to say this, but I think you're a little bit overly optimistic. Because I don't see them turning this around. I don't think they have a coaching staff capable of turning this around. I think we're going to wind up with maybe 6-7 wins, and that's about it.
Oof. Well, that would everyone's head would roll if that.
And I hate this. I love the Jets. I love them. I'm 63 years old. I thought that this year I would have something to make me feel good on Mondays, and I'm about this close from just doing other shit on Sundays.
That sucks. It sucks that we're in a position where that is the case, EC, but I appreciate the honesty here. So, for instance, FL Phil 98, he made this comment earlier. BG actually agree they will win the majority of their games, referencing the Jets for remaining games, but it will be another woulda, coulda, shoulda season. When you look at the Jets schedule that's coming up, there seems to be opportunities there. Again, Jacksonville stinks. You've got New England, obviously. Miami's a total wild card. You have no idea what they're going to be, and Tua could return next week potentially. So there's a lot of unknown there, certainly with the schedule, but there does seem to be some opportunity. But the Jets just need to beat anybody right now, which is why New England is this perfect opponent in theory for the Jets to hopefully fix a lot of their woes. Let's get to another caller here on the program. Thank you, FL Phil 98, for that. We appreciate it. I guess that comment's going to stay up. There it is. Okay, here we go. Let's go to another caller. We got Terrence here on the show. Good morning, Terrence.
Good morning, guys. How I'm sounding? Good?
Yeah. You sound much better than the Jets did last night.
Well, you guys are in Atlanta?
We are. Yes, sir.
How's the weather? I'm going to change the subject so we can talk about something positive here.
It's been cool. It's nice, though. It's nice. Weather's nice.
Yeah,
Hey,
just like
Fort Lauderdale
Albany.
has some great weather, guys. So that's
Okay,
good. That's one plus for us this morning, right?
there you go. That's half the battle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm a positive guy, man. I got nothing but good stuff to say, and when there's nothing good to say, I don't say nothing. That's why you probably haven't heard from me recently.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Well.
there's enough people that I could talk about. Fire this guy, and we suck. But
Yeah.
I'm just not that type of person. So I just wanted to call to say hello. Keep life going, guys. I know you Jet fans out there are probably contemplating suicide or something.
Wow. Whoa. Whoa.
Just it's all right. It's all right. We just gotta. It's right now for me. When the Jet season gets to that point, which is now, it's just one game. It's a 1 game season now. So it's like, don't worry about the games ahead. I just worry about the game in front of us for the rest of the season. So that's it. Every time you hear me come on and talk, I'm just going to talk about the next game.
Okay.
So we got New England. We got to get prepared. We got to go out there, fight hard, and win this game. And that's it. That's where we at right now.
Okay, Terrence. So I can count on you talking about the next game available, and then asking me about the weather, which I'll try to have a window by me for all of those. So, Terrence,
I'm trying to pull up the energy, man. I'm trying to pull up the energy.
I respect it, Terrence. Thank you so much for the call. Yeah, to me, again, it is 1 game at a time. Aaron Rodgers said it last night in a optimistic way, talking about this run of winning whatever games in a row. It starts with 1 game. If you don't win 1 game, then obviously you can't win a bunch of the other ones. So, it's going to start with 1. Up next is New England. Again, this is my final show of my dad here before I head back. I fly later today back to New York. So, Boy Green Daily. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back in the lovely abode. We'll also have James Woody doing Boy Green Meets Woody in that afternoon slot as well. And then right around the corner, my son is going to be born in just a handful of weeks. So, there's a lot happening in the middle of this season, but we'll continue to be here with you guys for all of these. And I appreciate the 900 people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, and continue to spread the good gospel here of the program. Pop, any thoughts here?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. We'll go back. We'll end the takeover and be back to the weekly shows.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I appreciate all the comment section here. Let's squeeze in one more call. We got Indy Jets joining us. What's up, Indy?
Boy Green, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I had so much optimism heading into this game. I'm like, it's there. I convinced myself that this was essentially a 2-game season for the Jets. You beat Pittsburgh, which to me was obviously the much tougher opponent. You beat New England. You're 4-4, and okay, here we go. Everything is right there. But now they're 2-5, and we have to be faced with a different reality at this point, Indy.
Yeah, and I just want to address an elephant in the room here, but
sure.
we have a quarterback who we thought was going to be something, and I continue to watch him not be that guy. Yeah, do we still look that he could be? I don't know. I mean, he makes some good throws, but I have not seen him be the guy that he was in Green Bay for a consistent 4 quarters.
Yeah, he's obviously had those opportunities, right? Why did we bring in Aaron Rodgers? Well, the Minnesota game is why. The Broncos game is why. The Buffalo Bills game is why. Where you have an opportunity to win the game with the ball in his hands. That's why you brought him in. And every time we were kind of like, well, this happened. Well, this happened. Well, this happened. It shouldn't be us making excuses for the guy. He should just be delivering. We're like, there he is, Aaron Blabin Rodgers. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that so far. And boy, we're running out of time to see it, because if we see it in week 16, woohoo, we won it. Now we're 5-10. You're like, whoa, geez, what the? That doesn't quite hit the same. So yeah,
I mean,
is running out of time to be that guy.
It puts us right back into the same thing we went through with Geno, with Darnold. We can look great at the end of the season once we're no longer in the playoff run.
Right. Yeah. Right. See, we're trying to do it while we're still alive, so to speak. So we need Rodgers to kind of but maybe not. This is probably too aggressive to put the team on his back, but in situations like when, like rally the team, there's 2 minutes to go. Okay, we got to win this thing right now, and then there's just this natural belief that permeates once you get one of those opportunities. Once they see it once, the team is like, oh man, we always got a chance with Aaron Rodgers. We've yet to see them complete that opportunity so far.
You know, and I'm old enough to remember watching the. I mean, this is just a continuation of Richard Todd, Ken O'Brien. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on of how we start off so poorly in the beginning of the season, and then it takes us 9-10 games before we actually start looking like a team. But by then, it's too late. And you know, we blamed a lot of it on Zach. We always look for excuses. Man, at some point, well, when do we fix this? I mean, this isn't the Cleveland Browns where we've but maybe it is. We are the Cleveland Browns in essence. We've at least in my lifetime, I've never seen a Super Bowl. You know.
Yeah, I haven't either. Unfortunately,
I don't know if this is if you believe in the Joe Namath curse or whatever it is, but I don't know how we ever get over it. How do we get over this hump?
It's a good question, Indy, and we got to think about it. But again, this team is so talented. This is the team that's supposed to be getting over that hump. Let's get to a super chat before we sign off. Our number one Austrian Jets fan, baby, which we appreciate.
Wow.
Our number one Austrian Jet fan says 2021, both A-Rod and Brady had their last dominant seasons. 2022, both lost their mojo and finished 8-9. Brady retired. A-Rod did not. Again, I still see it from Aaron Rodgers. We're like, whoa, look at that throw, this, that, or the other. For instance, I heard someone blaming Garrett Wilson in the comment section saying, hey, you know, Garrett Wilson's the one that dropped that pass. And he did drop that pass. But every pass from Aaron Rodgers hasn't been on point. There were several throws to, I think it was Johnny's call earlier, about throws that were off. Like, that it was just open. Obviously, think about, I believe that was the Vikings game where Garrett Wilson ran an up and go, and he was wide open for the touchdown. The Jets would have won that game and given the Vikings their first loss. They ended up getting that anyway from the Detroit Lions. So I've seen in glimpses Aaron Rodgers deliver some of those moments, but we need to see it in captivating wins. If you think about the Tennessee Titans game, the defense is the one that got off the field and won that game, and then there was a blowout against the New England Patriots. So from that perspective, that's it. And there you go, Jared B. There's the popcorn, buddy. And I'm not sure how that's going to ship, but we'll get to that at a different point.
Not shipping. It'll be at the tailgate in 2025 MetLife Stadium. This is bacon flavored popcorn. It will be there.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning into the show. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the membership. Thank you for the comments. And thank you for caring a little bit more than the Jets did last night, apparently, on Sunday Night Football. Again, I'm going to be flying back later today. It was fun doing all of these hop-on-pop takeover shows. I hope you guys really appreciated that over the last 4 days here for Boy Green Daily. We'll return back to New York and do a normal Boy Green Daily tomorrow morning as well, and I'm looking forward to it. But these were a lot of fun. Pop, we're signing off for the last time.
Well, it's been great. We'll see you on Saturday. Let's go.
And there you go. Yes, we'll also have New England Patriots coverage, so keep an eye out. I'll be texting my guy Taylor Kyles and all our other New England Patriots people that we have in the Rolodex, and we'll be getting you guys ready for that game and turning the page because, well, we have no other choice. We must turn the page and look forward, and we plan on doing that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And like I said, like the video, hit subscribe. You can join the Boy Green Coffee Club by clicking down below to help support the show. Visit the Boy Green merch shop if you'd like as well. That's another thing you guys can do and spread the good gospel of Boy Green Daily. Take care.